Welcome back, everybody. This is going to be one of the most unique podcast interviews I've ever done. And if by chance you can go to my YouTube channel and you can watch the video because I'm interviewing my good friend Bob Pacanovsky, the Black Tie Experience. He's wearing a tuxedo. I'm in a tuxedo, but better yet, and I have to figure out why we're here, but I'm interviewing Bob in his kitchen. So first and foremost, Bob, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, out of your cooking schedule to spend some time with me on my podcast.
Oh, my pleasure, Peter. Thanks for the invite.
Uh, okay, so the obvious question I need to ask is, why are we in your kitchen?
It's a great question, and 2020. I don't want to replay it, but one of the things as a keynote speaker and trainer, and my world got shut down like yours and others, and so we need to move this virtual format, and I thought, well, after about 2 or 3 months, I realized that I was starting to get a little fatigued with the virtual formats and what can I do differently? And honestly, I was working on this in the last couple of years, thinking I could bring this to an in-person event because I have two passions. I have a number of passions, but two of the passions that I have, Peter, one is talking, speaking, teaching, coaching on customer service experience. That's what I love to do.
Mhm.
But my second one, based on my entrepreneurial background, is food. So for over 20 years, I owned restaurants, an event and catering operation. And while I wasn't the chef, I owned the companies. I learned a lot about food and learned how to cook by watching, listening, asking questions, observing my chefs, my cooks. And after I sold my company, I started looking at this and I thoroughly enjoyed cooking. So much so I was like, well, why don't I combine now in the virtual world two of my passions, food and customer service, and put them together to create both the black tie customer and now culinary experience. So I'm in my kitchen, ready to cook with you for you.
Oh, that is so cool. And I know over the years we have talked about we share that same passion of cooking. I mean, I'm Greek. I was raised in restaurants. I remember cooking in the back of my uncle's diner. I don't know, maybe at the ripe old age of 8. So I've always had this love of cooking, and now that you're going to do this, I'm even more excited. You said you had a surprise for me, so when I asked you to interview you, but you didn't tell me, and I appreciate that because I love this. I mean, you've got me excited about what you're about to do. So thank you for holding that suspense out for me. This is going to be fun.
Well, thank you.
So what are we going to do? What are you going to do? Help me here.
Okay, well, so first today, and those of you that are on the YouTube channel, you'll be able to see my setup. You see, I have some sauteed pans in front of me now. I'm using some butane burners because my stove is actually behind me. But if I cook from my stove, all you would see is my back. Not a great interview. So I have my counter here in my kitchen. I have everything set up, and I didn't realize this, but February is Heart Healthy Month across America. So I have this heart healthy recipe that is just, I mean, it's really tasty. My wife and I found it or just a few years ago. I added some things to it, and it uses ingredients like extra virgin olive oil. Okay, great. Uh, Fresh vegetables. I have squash and zucchini here. I have red and orange bell peppers along with onions. I have uh, walnuts that are going to be toasted in it. I have a low fat mozzarella cheese. Now, it's served with pasta. Oh, and I have fresh spinach. Okay? So, everything about this is really heart healthy. Now, typically, you serve it with a whole wheat pasta.
Okay.
Okay? But this is the black tie experience. So, we're using bow tie pasta today. Hey,
Okay. Why didn't I see that coming? I mean, that's why. So, I'm glad you did that because I think before you start cooking, I want you to talk about the black tie experience, about that other passion that you have.
well, So I'm going to tie this in, no pun intended. Um, but think about this: or when you go out to eat, Peter, or you're making food at home, you want to create not just the food itself, but you want to create a wonderful dining experience or enjoy a wonderful dining experience. So the food has to be quality, just like our customer service has to be quality. Okay, that's the basics. But what are those other little things you're going to do during the course of the time frame that are going to create this memorable experience that you can't wait to tell others about? So what are those little touches that you're going to provide your guests when you uh, bring people over for a dinner party? It's going to be the wine, the hors d'oeuvres, the table decor. Maybe you're going to have a favorite appetizer or a favorite dessert. Well, and because you don't want to have anything to be ordinary or average. Well, shouldn't our customer service experience be the same? Shouldn't we try to have a consistent customer service experience like with cooking? We need to make sure that this dish comes out the same every time. It has to be consistent. And it should exceed our expectations, just like customer service. Now, so that's the black tie experience. But here's the key, Peter. This is what I found is I want companies to name it themselves. I mean, I call it the black tie experience, but I work with a company, they call it the Danbury difference. Okay. But it's
Okay.
usually what I have are, and again, my cooking metaphor, I have four key ingredients to create this black tie recipe on how to achieve this experience where you build your brand ambassadors, your loyal customers. And those are the people that can't wait to tell others about how you've made them feel. So that's what I'm looking at. So the black tie experience is creating those expectations that people are like, wow, I can't wait to tell others about this.
Yeah, we all have had that wonderful restaurant experience. We've also had that horrible restaurant experience, and it even extends out to that. I as you're talking, I'm going, I just basically had to fire my dentist because of poor customer service. Now, I like the dentist. The office staff had an attitude, and it wasn't a really good attitude. And the way they spoke to me one day, I went, uh-uh, you just lost a customer. I got the overall customer service versus the black tie customer service. And I think, you know, think it's in every industry, it's in everywhere, but we need each and every opportunity to be a black tie.
Absolutely. I mean, it's because it's those little things. So, and you just gave a great example. So sometimes it is about those little things. So, and really, for me, Peter, and I think what separates me, hopefully, from other speakers, trainers, is I focus on two key principles in delivering this black tie customer experience. The first one is service excellence. And I define service excellence is what you know and then what you do with what you know. Okay.
Okay.
So whereas we're going to develop our customer service program. So this is what we know. But then what are we going to do with it? How are we going to train our staff so that we don't have that rude experience? So it's really creating this level of excellence, which should be here every time. So it's what we know and then what we do with what we know. But then the hospitality, this is what people sometimes don't remember. It's the hospitality quotient is how we do it. I mean, we can create a great service excellence, but if we're angry when we do it, or we don't make that personal connection, we're losing out on that hospitality touch.
Man, you just threw me back to a number of years when you and I were having a conversation, and I said, when I get in front of audiences, I ask them what business they're in, especially accountants. They give me the audit, the tax, the consulting, blah blah blah, and I keep saying that's a byproduct. The business you're in the people business, but then you said, Pete, we're in the yes, we are in the people business, but we're also in the hospitality business, no matter what industry we're in. And bingo, you're always right about that.
Well, right. And think about this: your product or service is a commodity. And I can
Right.
get it anywhere, right? I mean,
Right.
CPAs, investments, banks, whomever, I can get that anywhere. What I can't get is that personal connection of how you're going to make me feel.
Right.
And so, I mean, when we have a great meal and a great dining experience, gosh, we feel wonderful. Like, wow, I want to do this again. And so, why not? So let's have some fun. Let's cook,
Okay.
and let's talk about how this all ties in together.
Okay. This is going to be fun. All right.
Cool. So I'm going to get started. But before I start, I'm not going to cook. Well, two things. Here's the first thing I have to do. So while this is my uniform, the black tie, uh, I don't wear this when I cook.
And
Okay.
you know how impressive that is? That's not a clip-on tie. That's a tie-on tie. I mean,
Hey, it's what I do. So I'm going to put on my other uniform. It's my chef coat. Now, let me tell you, for all your audience out there, I'm not a chef. Okay. I don't claim to be one. But this is to protect my outfit. Okay. So
cool.
that I learned how to cook by, as I said earlier, by watching my chefs. Peter, it's amazing. I mean, like you, I mean, I got started out in the restaurant business from uncles. So I probably started at age 14 and washing dishes and all that stuff. And just watching, observing, listening, it started to become second nature for me. And I was telling a good friend of mine or about this. I said, yeah, I'm not a chef. He's like, no, stop right there. In my business, he said, you had the final say on every menu item. Ooh, I like that. Oh, yes.
I just grabbed my martini glass. I figured since we're having the black tie experience, I might have a little, even though it's 10:25 in the morning. I thought I have a little martini with my buddy Bob.
Thank you. I wish I had one. But I had a final say on every menu item that came out of my restaurants, my catering operations. And so I knew what it meant to have a high quality meal that tastes good, that looks good. And then I just started practicing, which isn't the same. I mean, that's the same with customer service. We have to practice, we have to role play.
Right.
But so here's what we're gonna do. So I have four key ingredients of creating the black tie customer service experience. The first one is we don't do any cooking with, and it's called it's about building a foundation of hospitality or creating a culture of welcome. So in the cooking world, you see all my ingredients here. I have to make sure that I have all the right ingredients in place, prepped out, ready to go. And I have to make sure, because that's really my foundation of this recipe, are these ingredients. And I have to make sure, because if I put too much garlic in this, that could be, I mean, it tastes great, but that could be terrible. Or if I don't put enough seasoning in it, it's going to be very bland or average. And no one likes bland or average food. So, but it's the same with your business. So when I train companies and I speak at conferences, the first question I ask is, what's the foundation of your company like? Well, Bob, our building saw. I said, no. Your culture is your foundation. What's your culture like? And I believe that the key ingredients that make up your culture are core values, vision, mission, purpose. How well do you promote these and live these and walk the walk and talk the talk so everybody in your company is ingrained with these key ingredients? But then the second part of it is built on hospitality, that culture welcome. So that last key ingredient to your culture are your people. So what do you do to ingrain your people? Do they feel empowered? Do they feel appreciated, valued, and engaged? I know we all talk about that. But Peter, you and I both know that the number one reason people leave companies typically is because they're undervalued and underappreciated.
Exactly.
Well, so with cooking, you got to make sure you got the right ingredients in place before we start cooking. So I do, because the last thing I want to do is run around here like, oh my gosh, I forgot the garlic. I forgot the basil. I'm running around here like crazy. and then I just throw something together and it doesn't turn out.
Right.
So that's principle number one. But now we're going to start cooking with principle number two. And principle number two is about your standards of excellence, creating your standards of excellence. So I know you can't see this that well, but this here is my standard of excellence for this dish. This is my recipe
Okay.
that I got to follow. So I'm going to start cooking here. So I'm turning on. Boy, it works. Hopefully you can see the flame there. Turn on my saute pan or for the heat. Now, one quick cooking tip. Most people make this mistake, is that they will turn the heat on with the pan on and put the oil in right away and then throw whatever they want in cooking. Well, you're making that or those ingredients do a lot more work. So heat the pan up first, then take your oil and let that oil get heated up. Mix it around here.
I like how you measure, just like me. Oh, whatever you got.
Well, trust me, but everything else here is meant for this recipe. So then when this gets heated up, I'm going to follow my steps of service, which that's what it is. This is a standard of excellence. My recipe is a standard of excellence, which has to be consistent every single time. So I'm following my steps of service. So for companies, what are your steps of service to create a great customer service experience? So I'm throwing in my squash and zucchini, got my peppers and onions, and you probably can't hear this, but it's already starting to sizzle, which is that's what we want. We want that heat to start coming through because it's going to make the cooking process go a little bit better. So I'm going to let that simmer here for a little bit. Now I'm going to put my seasoning in. So I use a mixture of a sea salt or kosher salt and black pepper. I use table salt. Table salt's for baked potatoes and corn on the cob. Sea salt or kosher salt has a much more robust flavor when it comes to cooking. So it calls for about a teaspoon. Making sure I have that correct. I haven't seasoned the taste. It's about half a teaspoon, putting it in. I'm taking my dried basil. And now let me show you, Peter. Or again, this is what I learned from my chefs, just by watching. But so you see chefs do this, but I'm going to mix up my vegetables.
Oh, get a little extra flame going there with the olive oil jumping on the burner. Nice.
So it's all in the wrist action, But again, the only way that I learned that was by watching my guys cook.
Yeah.
So this is getting mixed up. So while this is going on, what I talk with people about is your steps of service. Do your employees know what your steps of service are on how to work with a brand new customer, on how to work with a prospect, on how to work with a loyal customer? And are we involving our people in the recipe? Because in my business, when I had my event and catering business, we had one opportunity to wow our customers. I couldn't go back, hey Peter, I'm sorry that we ruined your 50th anniversary for your company. The food wasn't good. We didn't follow the recipes right away. Yeah, it's no big deal, right? No, everything had to be consistent because we wanted to exceed those expectations. The only way we could be consistent was by practicing over and over and over. So that's what we should be doing.
So you didn't use the Allen Iverson approach, right?
Well, and let me throw this quote at you from Coach K. You know Coach K.
Yeah.
Here's what he says. Champions play as they practice. Create a consistency of excellence in all your habits. So before we get out on the floor, we got to practice.
Right.
One last thing to this recipe on this step is I'm going to throw in my minced garlic. Now, I turned down my heat to put my garlic in, and I'm going to explain why. See, garlic heats up real quick. And if you put garlic on high heat along with the walnuts, they're going to burn. And one of the worst tastes you can have on a dish is burnt garlic. You know, great. I mean, you guys
Yeah.
use all the time.
Yeah. I mean, you cannot put enough garlic in a Greek dish for a Greek person.
So, the heat's down low. I got the walnuts in. Can you spell this, by the way? I don't know if my computer has those special powers, but trust me, it spells incredible.
I wish we were doing this live in your kitchen.
I know. Now, here's the last thing. Here's the fresh spinach.
Yum.
Now, there's only one job that fresh spinach has when you put it to high heat. It wilts.
Right.
That's what it's made to do. And so you want it to wilt. Now, you can put in as much fresh spinach as you want. It doesn't matter because it's going to turn down to nothing. But I followed my recipe. How many companies just wing it when it comes to customer service and service training? And then the key with this recipe is we used to go back and revisit it 6 months later. Okay, how is this measured? You know, we have to measure our customer service training. Do people love this dish from our catering company? No, why not? Well, they said it's too much this, not enough that. Okay, let's change the recipe. How, you know, we have to revisit our training and take it so that it's always consistent. So that's step 2.
Okay.
Now we move to step 3 because we're almost ready to eat. So that's the big impact, right? We want to make this big impact. So now, my third key ingredient is enhancing the experience through impact points. So let me tell you my definition of an impact point is anytime someone comes in contact with your brand before, during, or after they make a purchase from you. Now, I put the word purchase in air quotes because they may not make a purchase based on what they see, hear, touch, feel, or they could leave your business. You just had a great example. The impact point with your dental office was how they treated you.
Right.
That's a subconscious impression in your mind to say, I'm done. I'm going somewhere else.
Right.
So this dish needs to make an impact point. And so I got the heat off, and now I'm going to plate this dish up. And
I'm so watching you do all of this that questions don't even pop up in my head. I'm just thinking this is so cool. But I love the metaphor that you're using here with your 4 pieces of your business and into cooking. I think that's it's brilliant that you've come up with that during a pandemic, that you had this time to sit and think, and how can I do something different that nobody else is doing and tie it into your business.
well, thank you. And I get so excited about talking about this that I forgot the key ingredient was the pasta. Wait a minute, there's something wrong with this dish here. I had a little olive oil. I'm putting the pasta in. Now I cooked my pasta ahead of time. And now I'm going to heat up that pasta. And
I was wondering about the pasta.
You know, I got the yellow, the green, the orange. With the pasta, I mean, this looks really good. And like I said earlier, it's great tasting for you. So now I'm ready to do the impact point. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to create this dish. Now, keep in mind that, we did about 7,000 events over the course of my career as a caterer and event planner. And I can tell you one thing, Peter, people leave with their eyes first.
Absolutely. That's a very good point.
And same with looking at business. I mean, they look at your business, whether it's online, your lobby, your restroom. So now here's what we're going to do. So I'm going to add my low-fat mozzarella cheese to this. And I'm going to top it. And I'm going to bring this up.
Yes, please. The audience The ones who watch it on YouTube need to see that. Oh my God. Whoops. That looks, oh man, that looks wonderful. And it's like 10:28 right now. So it's getting close to lunch. I know what I'm doing when we're done. This is making me so hungry. That looks wonderful.
Well, thank you. So, so here's how I want to tie this in to your business.
Hmm.
So this makes an impact, doesn't it, for you? I mean, you
Right.
want to, well, in your business, or what I tell companies is that in this state, so you have your culture down, okay, it's solid. You have your steps of service, you have that recipe. Now you're now springing into action. So now what I tell companies is you now have to become a customer in your business. What does your customer see, hear, feel, touch, taste? What are those impact points? So there's two types, real quick. First one is what I call business branded impact points, which are everything surrounding your business, your website,
Mhm.
marketing materials, signage, lobby, conference room, front desk, restrooms.
Oh yeah. Oh, that is a big one.
That's a big one.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the first one. So we always have to keep looking because here's the key, Peter. People, your customers or prospects, if your website doesn't look good, they're not even going to contact you.
Right.
You don't even know you've missed out on that. So, but you can have the most beautiful building, the most beautiful website in the world, but if you're missing the second impact point, which is called behavior-based impact points, you're losing out. And that's a fancy term for your people. So you can have the best impact points, but now you get someone like, what? That's not my job. I can't help you. I guess. I don't know. Right? We've all been there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do your people look, act, speak in on the phone, in an email, in front of customers, prospects? All these things make a subconscious impact in the minds of a consumer. And so, real quick, I have an exercise that I can work with our companies on. It's called the good, could, should exercise. Go into your business and look at all those impact points. Your parking lot. What's your parking lot look like? Is it filthy? What's the front door of your business look like? Those are subconscious. So write down all list of all the things that you're doing good. Oh, the floors look great. Break room looks great. Blah, blah, blah. Great. Let's keep it up. Write down things that could be better. Oh, my gosh, we really should look at the lighting. Oh, yeah, we could do something with that. Then, oh my gosh, we really should do something with this. It's our invoicing, it's our signage, it's our website. Make that change because your customers will see it. And just like you said, you changed your dentist. I'm curious, did you let your dentist know that you're no longer going to be there?
I am going to let him know. I am going to bypass the gatekeepers and basically write him a letter and I'll snail mail and have it addressed to him.
Right. Well, most people don't.
Yeah.
So what they'll do is they'll say, okay, I'm done. I'm going somewhere else. Why haven't you come back to our business? Found somebody else.
Yeah.
Thanks. Have a nice day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the third one. Now we're going to be ready to eat here, and I'm not going to eat in front of you, but if I would eat in front of you,
Yeah.
this is the fourth point. The fourth key ingredient is taking those customers and transforming them to brand ambassadors. Okay, so you heard my definition of brand ambassador. Someone who can't wait to tell the story of how you make
Right.
money.
Right.
So your brand ambassadors, those are your loyal customers who are going to stick with you no matter what. Now, Bob, how important are loyal customers? I mean, we know the answer, but you know what, Bob? I got to keep going out and getting new customers. Absolutely, you do.
Right.
However, why not let your loyal customers do the marketing with you? So there's a study done by a company called the Temkin Group. And here's one of the key things that they said. Loyal customers are 4 times more likely to refer you to their friends, families, associates. So think about that for a second. You take 10 brand ambassadors in your company. Now, brand ambassadors are more demanding, and they should be because they're loyal.
Right.
But what would 40 new prospects look like for your business, who, by the way, have been pre-qualified because they've already heard the story of
Right.
you got to go to this company.
Right.
How and so I asked companies, how many could you close out of 40? 30?
Probably.
What would 30 new customers look like for a business right now?
Yeah.
Right? That's the power of brand ambassadors. So how do you get them to that stage? Because, well, gosh, I got them as a customer. Well, now how do you retain them? Well, there's some concepts that I talk about on how to retain them. Here's just a few that I'll share. Number one is how do you personalize the experience for them? Not only personalize it from the business standpoint of having this CRM or this spreadsheet on how they like their product delivered, how they like their invoicing, who gets the invoicing, who is the key contact person, what time should the product be there, a window, whatever it is, you know that, write it down so that everybody on your team knows that you're personalizing that experience. But then here's the second part of it is how well do you know them so you can personalize even further. You know, what's their favorite sports team? What's their favorite beverage? Do you know the names of their spouse and children and birthday? But here's the black tie. Wait, here's the black tie. It's, you know what, anybody can send a birthday card.
Right.
Here's the black tie. You want to go to the black tie? Send them a card on the anniversary date that they became a client of yours. Because guess what? They don't know.
Right.
It's in the CRM. Hey, Peter, thank you
Yeah.
so much. It's been 2 years today that you became a customer. Thank you. We appreciate your loyalty. Here's your favorite bottle of wine.
Bada boom.
That, those are stories that travel farther. And then one more real quick one is how well do you anticipate the needs of your customers? I mean, I'll everybody, but with your brand ambassadors, you should know them better than they know themselves about your business. I mean, in our business, I customers tell me all the time, Peter, gosh, Bob, you make it so easy for us. You take care of all the details. Everybody just knows exactly what to do. I have no worry when it comes to working with your company. That's because we anticipated and we were proactive in making sure that every detail was taken care of. Because the last thing you want to do is be the opposite of proactive and be reactive.
Right.
I'm so sorry that we screwed up your delivery. You know, I saw it here that it was supposed to be, but that was Charlie's fault. But Bob, Charlie hasn't worked here for 3 years. I know, but it's still his fault, because he didn't take it off.
Yeah.
Stop apologizing and anticipate the needs, because anticipatory service, I think, is one of the highest levels of service you can offer.
I agree with everything that you're saying, and I believe that. But also, there's one additional thing that we are human, and we will mess up at some point during their experience. It's that being humble and apologetic, and not really blaming anybody, but I'm going to make it right for you, plus more.
Absolutely. Yes.
Um,
Well, because here's the key. So that goes back to your steps of service.
mhm.
In fact, your employees know how to work with an unhappy client. Because typically what happens is once somebody gets unhappy, oh, wait a minute, I can't help you. Let me pass the buck somewhere else. That frustrates that customer. Yes, but I agree with 100%. Well, yesterday, I was doing this for an organization yesterday, and someone, as I talked about that last step, someone said, Bob, let me tell you just a quick story. I was at a restaurant. We were at a table, kind of in the back. We're trying to talk about business. It was too noisy. I just mentioned something to the waitstaff person. Next thing you know, the manager comes over, moves us with, thank you very much. We're sorry about that. Here's a complimentary bottle of wine for your evening. She's like, well, I didn't have a challenge. No, that's okay. That's what we want to do. So they were empowered to make that decision, because that's okay. Yes, we screwed up, but here's how we're going to make it right.
Right. I don't, you probably know this, but it's either the Ritz-Carlton or Four Seasons that empower their people where they can make decisions up to $400 per customer.
Well, actually, you know what? So it's the Ritz Carlton,
Okay.
but it's not $400, Peter. It's $2,000.
Oh, missed it by that much, as Maxwell Smart would say.
So I mean, think about that. So that goes back to your culture.
Right.
In ingrained this culture into your people that they feel empowered and valued to make any customer's experience right. No questions asked.
Yeah, I will admit that during my career as a professional speaker, it was all on me. Poor performance. I'll just leave it at that. I didn't even send an invoice. I sent an apology, and just I didn't feel like I earned it, so I wasn't going to ask for it. I apologize. This is on me. This will never happen again. Uh, but as you talk about this, there's a new product that I'm offering, and I'm giving a money back plus 10% guarantee
Wow.
if it's not transforming the way they think, and it's all around accounting. There's a method that I've learned of accounting that I can teach anybody accounting in 6 hours, and they will walk out not deer in the headlights. They'll be going, oh, that's how my business. And I tried this out on somebody who would never, ever, ever take an accounting course. Not good in math. Gave me all the reasons, and I said, "I'll give you money back plus 10%." She goes, "Okay, I'll sit for 6 hours and listen to you," and was transformed. So that I think that's trying to take it to that black tie experience that you believe in the product so much, you believe in what you do, that you'll even refund them 100% and add 10% on top of it.
I love that. I mean, certainly I've heard of the money back guarantee, but I've never heard of the plus 10%. So kudos to you. That's impressive.
Well, how I got to there, and just to blow sunshine up your chef shirt, was I was thinking about the black tie experience. I mean, we've had a number of conversations over the last 4 or 5 years, and I just went, what? Because I know that accounting has a bad image, and I know people, and I can guarantee the money back. But I went, you know what? I believe in it. That I can do it, and I'm going to do the black tie. Let's bump it up to 10% if I can't deliver, which clearly keeps me on my toes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But that whole thought process it goes back to you, my friend.
Yeah, so I mean, this is it. I mean, so you want to get to that stage where it's just on a culinary end, so that the meal, or not only the meal looks great and tastes great, but that the entire experience is something that people will not only remember but refer, oh, or come back and say, hey, Bob, can you make that dish again? Well, that was incredible last time we came over your house, and you had all the, I mean, it was a perfect setting. Well, that's how it should be with our businesses, and I know most of us do a pretty good job at this, but how can we get to that next level of not only meeting the expectations but exceeding them, so that we now start garnering more brand ambassadors? Because think about this: the more brand ambassadors we have, the more they do the marketing for us.
Mm-hmm.
And if they can refer us to new customers, that means we see an increase in revenue, profit, retention, loyalty, and we're not doing the marketing and sales. They are.
Right.
Word of mouth is huge. And we get to that by putting these four key ingredients together. Now, why I have these four was this is how I put this together in all of my businesses. This was the recipe that we used to create the black tie experience. We didn't call it that back then, but this is what we used to really create our loyal customers. And Peter, in the 15 years that I own my event and catering company, I mean, I had customers that were with me for 12, 13, 14, 15 years. And it got to the point where they would make a phone call to say, hey, Bob, here's the next event. I trust you. You or here's my budget range.
Mm-hmm.
You take care of it from there. Because they knew,
Right.
because we had all these. So that was a loyal customer. That was that brand ambassador who, by the way, then started referring others. Like, you know what, you got to talk to this guy.
Yeah.
How to reduce his company. That's what it's about.
So as we wrap up, I'd like you to state what those four ingredients are again for the audience.
Okay. So ingredient number one is developing this foundation of hospitality, creating a culture of welcome. Number two is putting together your standards of excellence, your steps of service. Number three is enhancing the experience through impact points. And number four is transforming your just satisfied customers to brand ambassadors.
Perfect. And I'm not going to let you go until how can people find you? How can they contact you?
Well, one way is if you probably type in the black tie guy, something will probably show up. But they can reach me through my website. It's my name, bobpacanovsky.com. I can spell it if you'd like, or if it'll show up on the, well, yeah, or for your audio listeners, it's Pacanovsky. So or if it's bobpacanovsky.com, and my email is my name, it's bob@bobpacanovsky.com. And my phone number, and I travel the country, but I'm in Akron, Ohio. It's 330-352-6084. Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all those.
So if you do contact Bob, I would appreciate it if you would let him know that you heard it from this podcast episode. That would be great. Bob, I can't thank you enough. I am starving now. I'm gonna finish my martini here, and then I've got my Dunkin' Donuts coffee that's going to chase it so I get through the rest of the day. But it's been a pleasure. I've had more fun than I have on a podcast. I have fun on all my podcasts, but once again, you took it to that whole different black tie experience with the whole kitchen and everything. So thank you very much. I can't wait to sit down and have a conversation face to face without a computer screen with you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. I thoroughly enjoy this. I want to get back out onto the stage, as I know you do too.
Mhm.
This is the next best thing. I am offering this on a virtual end, that if people want to do this, and then they can cook right along with me in their kitchens. We do some team building or training like this, and it's a fun, interactive, and by the way, very tasty. Very tasty to do this. It's just something different that beats the same old when it comes to virtual meetings. So hey, if somebody wants to, I would love to be here. I love to cook and be happy to help you.
That's awesome. Thank you so very much. And I look forward to catching up with you.